Hello.
Hey Rick, how you doing? Dave Lawrence, Hawaii Public Radio.
How you doing, Dave?
Aloha, brother. There he is on the line. How's the level sounding, dude? Do I need to turn it up for you, down? What can I do to make it better?
No, it sounds perfect. How am I?
You are sounding fantastic, as always. Giving you a high five, a hug. Been a huge fan for a very, very long time. I'm 47. I was just a little boy. I grew up with your stuff, so it's like
Huh?
I've seen you in concert, and I'm just really appreciative that you're giving us a couple minutes of your time. Thanks for doing this today, Rick, really.
Well, it's always enjoyable. Thank you.
You are welcome. And before we get into your amazing career, your songwriting craft, your incredible production expertise, all the skills that you have brought to the world, Steve, the mystery emailer, one of my loyal listeners, has told me of an early gig of yours in Hawaii. And since you're coming with Edgar, I just figured we'd explore and see if this was something you remembered. Maybe not, but it was August 29th and 30th, 1976. You played the Blaisdell Arena with Aerosmith. Do you remember that one?
Well, you know what? I opened for Aerosmith quite a bit for a couple years there, and I vaguely remember somebody was asking me earlier today if I'd remember playing in Hawaii before. I remember traveling there many times, but I don't have much memory of real concerts there. So that must be one of them for real, though. Did I play there also with Ringo Starr?
I don't think you did play with Ringo. I think because Ringo came in the fall of 16. You were not in the band then, were you?
Nope. Nope.
Nope.
Nope. I was a couple years before that.
Yep, yep. Because I saw you in Radio City, brother, that night that Paul got up there with you guys and did Birthday.
Yeah, that was totally cool.
You better believe it. It certainly was. Well, so that's cool. We don't have a memory of the previous experience, but that leaves us perfect spot to talk about this new tour. Now, paint a little picture for folks who are excited because you're going to be sharing the bill with a cat who has been part of your life for longer than a lot of us have even been alive. Explain what's in store.
Well, both bands are going to be there, my band as well as Edgar's, and we'll both play shows with our bands, and then ultimately we all get up and play a little bit together toward the end. Edgar and the guys in my band also, everybody, the whole shebang will be there.
Kind of like that all-star jam at the end of the Ringo shows, huh? They'd bring all kinds of people out at those things sometimes, huh?
Yeah, you never know sometimes.
Right, I can only imagine. When I was dialing in on the music, the guitar style that you have, that's one of the things, the sound of your guitar going back decades, and it made me wonder, before you started the Rick Z combo as a kid, later Rick and the Raiders, how did you first get exposed to music and decide you wanted to pick up the guitar?
Well, it really is pretty basic. And for people that have only heard recordings and have never heard the guitar actually played right next to them in their house, they wouldn't necessarily know what I'm talking about. But it really has an impact. Music, live music, not a band necessarily, but somebody sitting beside you playing really well. Has an impact. It's a separate language. Music is a language all of its own, and the greatest thing about it, and what I realized right away, was people can know another language and speak it, but that means they can also lie in that language. What I like about music is you can't lie, and that's what you hear when you hear it first time right next to you. It affects you because it is a language that goes from one person's heart straight to the other person's heart. And you can't lie. Other people will like it or they won't like it. And that's the challenge that we face every time we do a live performance. And that's the challenge I love. That's the part I love, is being able to communicate the honest feelings from my heart to those people in the audience. And that's what affected me and made me want to play guitar.
And were people playing it in your household that you were able to hear it? Was it because of your brother?
Well, actually, the first time my uncle played guitar, and he brought a guitar and a little amplifier and set it up in my kitchen when I was probably about 7 years old.
Wow.
And, he played a little bit, and I just remember being affected enough that I told my parents I want a guitar. I want to play the guitar. And they went ahead and got me one for my 90th birthday. And, I've been doing it ever since.
That's a great point, though, what you said. I mean, I've asked similar questions to a lot of cats, but what I'm reading in from that, and it's a great answer, and you're right, it's kind of like, I mean, I'm picturing your uncle and the sound coming out of the amp. I mean, sound it's a vibration. It's coming at you, and so it is very different than, let's say, you have a little transistor radio and you're maybe hearing a complete song versus sitting right next to an instrument. It could be any instrument.
Yeah, and also on recordings, they can be played with. People can get in there and they can edit recordings, and they can, nowadays especially, they can change all kinds of parameters. But live music, and especially, like I said, somebody actually sitting in your house playing music, that's the one. It's not altered in any way. It can't be altered in any way. And you really feel the person's, I hate to keep saying it, but it's their heart. Their heart is different than their mind. And you feel their heart.
There's no question. Very different heart and the mind. Remember Carlos Santana explaining that to me, and I'll never forget it. You hit the nail on the head there, Rick. And when you talk about that sound of the guitar, similarly, and you hear about cats, they'll be in the shower and maybe they'll be singing along to something and they'll say, man, I like the sound of that. Or modern day folks, maybe it's the karaoke, and they'll discover they like to sing. When did you find, that you enjoyed doing it, or that it pleased other people too?
Both immediately. I started playing, and my uncle, who can, encourage me in some ways to play, first night I had my guitar, he showed me some songs, and the amazing part that people don't believe is I learned them immediately. The next day I was playing those whole songs, and I had to go out and find another guitarist in my local town there, a little bitty town in Ohio. Found another guy that played, and he showed me something else. And the next thing you know, within days, I was playing 6 or 7 songs as instrumentals, whole songs. And I went to a local, probably was a place where my uncle was playing, maybe. And I got up and jammed with him, played those songs, and they passed the hat around the room, and I made $43. And we're talking 1957 or 1956. $43 was a lot of money.
Absolutely, brother.
And so I not only knew that I enjoyed doing it, and I saw the people liking it, but I also felt the rewards that come also, and I was hooked. I said, this is it, man. What else is there?
Right. And at such a young age, too, to have that kind of reassuring kind of confidence building, I guess you could say, experience happen to you. And do you happen to remember what kind of guitar that first one was?
The first one was probably a Harmony model, which was a kind of a mass-produced electric guitar, one of the first cheap electric guitars that you could buy. And as soon as I started playing it, and within a couple months, I was good enough that my dad said, hey, man, we can get you a little better guitar than that. So I ended up getting, you can see them, they've been reissued now, Supro, S-U-P-R-O. I had a Supro 3 pickup, what was it called? Something Jet, maybe. I don't remember. But you can now see them. They've been reissued Supro guitars, and I used that for a while very quickly. Got a Gibson guitar. I had a Gretsch in there, too, a Silver Jet, they were called. That's the one with the silver front on it, the sparkle front.
Right.
Had one of those, and then I got a Gibson after that. And I played pretty much Gibson-style guitars ever since. I designed and played some guitars for B.C. Rich back in the days when I was opening for Aerosmith, for instance. And in the last 20 years, I've been playing guitars called Warrior, W-A-R-R-I-O-R, Warrior guitars. And they're a handmade guitar made in Georgia, right here in the good old USA. And they're the best guitars I've ever played.
In some pictures, is that an Ibanez Destroyer you're pictured with, or is that something else that looks like that?
A lot of people see pictures from the period where I was playing the B.C. Rich guitars, and the one I played a lot was called a Mockingbird. And then I played a guitar also, a Gibson Explorer.
That's what it is.
The original Explorer, actually the prototype, to make those Explorer guitars is the one I owned, and I played that for a while. But I really love those Warrior guitars.
No, that's cool. No, you explained it well, and now that must be the Explorer. Must be the one that I'm thinking of. That has the unusual shape on it, right? Kind of.
Yes, it was an unusual shape, but so was the Mockingbird. These are all really cool guitars that we're talking about here.
Oh well, and then it's appropriate because you're a really cool guitarist, and the sound.
Even that Supro I started out with, it's been reissued because people like it that much.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and I know what you mean. Sometimes those kind of things many, many years later, kind of like the muscle car craze now, huh? The way they've got all those Challengers.
Yeah, it is. It is like that.
And so you were talking about, you said something really interesting about your pop realizing your dad kind of appraising, you know what, you've stepped up. We got to get you a better guitar. The evolution, maybe the progression is a better word, from establishing yourself as a musician at all, and there you are, you're a young man, you're a kid basically, you've learned how to play, you're singing as you've explained to us. Had you recorded anything else before you got the chance to famously sing the vocals on Hang On Sloopy?
Yeah. As the McCoys, actually then we changed our name, as you saw, to Rick the Combo. And then we changed our name again to Rick and the Raiders before we went back to the McCoys. But sometime during that Rick and the Raiders period, my mom actually encouraged me to write. She said, you should write some songs. And so I wrote a couple songs, and one of them we recorded, and occasionally we just released it on our own little label in Ohio. But occasionally people will show up with one of those records. It was called Sonic Records, S-O-N-I-C, Sonic Records. And the band was Rick and the Raiders. And the song was called I Know That I Love You.
It's awesome stuff, man. And
but in 1964, we recorded, well, we didn't record, we played with a guy named Bobby Goldsboro, who had a lot of hits in that particular period. And he really saw promise in the band. He wanted to record us. He was trying to get us a record deal. But it didn't happen immediately. And the next thing you know, the Strange Loves showed up, and we backed them that night, and they were the ones that suggested, hey, you guys, you should do this song, Hang On Sloopy.
The history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
And between that period and when you met Johnny Winter, what are highlights that you look at as ways that your songwriting craft and your development, especially maybe your ears that you would end up becoming a producer and produce so many things, what were some of the things that you think helped develop you in that period?
Well, the McCoys were an interesting band. We loved blues and R&B and a lot of the music. That's what made us able to do Hang On Sloopy so well, as a matter of fact, was that interest in those other kinds of music. But very quickly, the McCoys became known as kind of this, we were lumped in with a whole bunch of bands called bubblegum bands. So we didn't like that idea, and we were trying to escape from that, and that's how we discovered Johnny.
And what do you talk about? How do you first meet this cat?
Hold on 1 second.
Sure, brother.
This is a live interview. It's not good for my wife is suggesting things for me to talk about. But Jenda, anyway, here we are. She gets irritated sometimes listening to me do interviews because people always want to talk about. I've had a career that included a lot of other artists, including Johnny and Edgar and all the people that you can hear about if you go to like Wikipedia or even rickderringer.com and read the bios. You can see all those different groups. And too many times when I do these interviews with people like you, the interviewer really wants to talk about all of those other people that I've played with. And sometimes she feels like I get lost in the talking about all those people. They forget about me.
Well, make sure you remind her that hasn't been the course of our 15-minute conversation so far. This is
I will.
First time that we've referred to anybody
yeah, I'll tell her.
Other than you.
To walk in. She walked in exactly when you were starting to ask about
Yeah,
that.
well, tell her that what we were about to talk about was that amazing distortion on that first record with Johnny that you just mentioned. And that was one of the things, I guess, through your whole career I've really enjoyed is the tone that you've had sometimes. And I guess I mentioned that one on that first record with him because it was so long ago, yet when I listen to it, it has like a futuristic quality, kind of like the way Al Di Meola's sound. Once he went solo, I would listen to him and be like, my God, how did he have that sound then? Similarly with you, and yours was years before. And can you point to anything about like the way that you guys would mix that stuff together? Because that takes a little bit of work to make it come out the way it did.
Well, I've always been interested in the sound. The sound has been very important to me. When I travel now, as a matter of fact, I make sure I bring my amplifier that I like specifically, but I also bring my own cables, and I bring electrical cables specifically that I have made just for my use. They're big, heavy-duty electric because we find out if you get good electricity to those tubes, the tubes actually sound a little better, and they react faster. So I'm very conscious of the sound today as I was then. Some things never change.
Yeah, that was a real nasty sound, man. It had like this electric quality few people had, and that was an era when a lot of people were trying different things. Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo comes from that same place. It's an enduring phenomenon. It's something that probably still you're extraordinarily grateful for because it's such a huge facet of radio today and in so many people's lives and in movies. Explain, if you can, your earliest memory of when that riff came to you or some of the ideas of the composition.
Well, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo is basically a story of experiences that I had while I was, just starting to play a lot of live concerts and stuff. They're all little ideas and things that I remembered from that time period. The old town hall was a place where they used to have concerts, and I talk a little bit about my girlfriends and stuff like that. So the story is kind of a timeless story, and it doesn't have any specific meaning, which makes it pretty cool, too. In fact, I heard a guy on YouTube the other day. He had a whole show he had devoted to just talking about Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. He proclaimed that it was the best rock song ever recorded. I can't say that. It would take the listener to say that kind of stuff. But I can say it's been a very influential song in my life. It's been recorded by on like 3 or 4 albums before I even did my version on All American Boy. Since then, a lot of other artists have done it. Miranda Lambert, for a while, was doing it in all her concerts. But we will do it when we see you guys.
And that's cool how it was not the original version of that. What you mentioned is something that I don't know if everybody listening, because as you know, some people are way into stuff, some people are more periphery, and there's a lot of people who probably don't even realize the other versions of that were laid down before you finally hit pay dirt, as I guess it would be called, when that thing just exploded. And you're coming to town. I mean, part of your repertoire, let's talk about They Only Come Out at Night, which was landmark record. You produced this record.
Produced it and played on. In fact, I produced all of Johnny or Edgar's records that were gold or platinum. Coincidentally, the ones that weren't are the ones I didn't produce. But They Only Come Out at Night is one of the more successful ones of the whole batch. On the other hand, I produced the first 6 Weird Al Yankovic albums, too. And those were Grammy-winning. Every one was gold or platinum. So I've worked with a lot of different people. But Edgar is always fun to come and play with because, once again, I've been part of all those songs that he will be playing. And that's why it's easy for us to get up and jam because I was there. I not only produced They Only Come Out at Night, but I played on a lot of it, too, even though Ronnie Montrose was the band member.
And the arrangements, though, too. How much of that, as a producer, a lot of the time a producer can get really involved in making critical decisions about the arrangements of the songs.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Frankenstein, I had to edit multiple times because Edgar likes to do everything a little long. And so in order to get it short enough to put on the record with other songs, it had to be edited quite a few times. But it was just a work of love all the time. The good thing about it is, and this is what I like to stress, is you've been talking about time periods that go all the way back to 1956. What that really means is that I've been actively doing what I do, and 90% of that is live concerts. I've been actively doing that since that time. So that means if you want to go out and see somebody that's experienced and really knows what they're doing on a concert stage in front of an audience, the best choice would be to come and see this concert that we're going to be doing for you guys. We guarantee that you'll go away from the show saying, wow, that was one of the best shows I ever saw.
Takes me back to recent history, not that many years ago. There you were on tour with Ringo Starr and sharing the bill with, ironically, the guy you're coming here to Hawaii with. Edgar was also part of it. I got to see you guys at Radio City Music Hall. It was Ringo's birthday, and Paul McCartney sat in with you guys.
That's right. That's right. And certainly that's one of the big memories. You know, and I also remember opening for the Rolling Stones on their first tour in the United States. I did every show that they did in the United States. I was on right before the Stones came out, and that was certainly a big memory.
And you opened up for Zeppelin too, right? Weren't you a part of that?
I did. The last shows that they did in the U.S., I was banned right before they went on too.
Was Judas Priest on that bill too?
Not that show. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, that'd be interesting because they would have gone on. They would have opened for me if that were the case.
Day on the Green.
I don't think they were.
Day on the Green, though. That's the name of the thing, right? The Oakland Stadium.
Yep, it was Day on the Green. That's correct.
With Big Bill, who you must have played with on so many shows with Bill Graham, huh? Over your history of your life.
Yeah, I did. I've done all the Fillmores and other shows that he promoted in that era as well.
You have a favorite kind of sound for a venue? That's great what you just pointed out. You've been in so many different, whether it's Royal Albert Hall kind of places or whether it's Radio City, Madison Square Garden, you name it. Is there a venue? Because I'm sure sometimes people tell me, I like being in a club where Herb Alpert told me this the other day. He said, I like being able to see everybody's face. And then there are other people who say, I like the energy of having to perform for a huge audience or the acoustics in certain venues. Do you have venues that you just have close to your heart?
I really don't. And as a matter of fact, I like playing for big audiences. I like playing for small audiences. We do a couple different style concerts now. We do one that's just a kind of typical rock, all full-blown, here we go concert. And then we also do one called the Storybook concerts. And in that, we actually take time to communicate, talk about all the songs, and actually talk to the audience and let them ask questions, and we'll answer whatever they want to know. We'll talk about anything they want to talk about. So I like them all. I like the little ones. I like the big ones. They're all fun in different ways.
And as a final one to wrap it up with you, and it's a question I've always been curious about with somebody with your incredible diversity through the years, all the people you mentioned that you've gotten to play with, and we're not focusing on them, but your favorite guitar players, maybe the people that through the years after you developed the craft you enjoy, or to this day, are there anybody and they don't maybe have to be guitar players. How about your favorite musicians that you enjoy getting to sit back and listen to?
I enjoy so many because music to me is not top 100. It's not a chart. It's just musicians that once again communicate
from
very
the heart.
Effectively from their heart. And I liked so many guitar players growing up. Wes Montgomery was one of my favorites. And Chet Atkins and Les Paul, both I still listen to them today. If I were going to put on records, John Coltrane, some of his stuff is just fabulous to listen to. One of my favorites, Louis Prima, and his band was called Sam Butera and the Witnesses. They, to me, they were the band in Vegas that whenever you hear about the Rat Pack hanging out in Vegas, that would be who they were listening to. They'd be going to clubs and listening to Louis Prima and Keely Smith. And I still love to listen to them today, too. But all the great guitar players are fun.
I can't wait to see you, man. This is going to be really special when you get to Honolulu. Maybe if you have time when you're in town, we can do a little quick follow-up at the venue or something. Maybe have you by the station if you're into it.
That'd be great. One or the other we can definitely do.
Oh, I love that, Rick.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Derringer, and y'all are rock and roll hoochie cooing with my friend Dave Lawrence on Hawaii Public Radio and All Things Considered. Please make a pledge now. It's not a free ride. Here's how. And thanks for supporting Hawaii Public Radio.
High fives and hugs for you, brother. God bless you, man. And I really appreciate getting your time. I hope this wasn't a hassle. I hope you enjoyed some of this today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I did.
Great. God bless you, man. I'll see you when you get to town. You travel safe, and give your wife my very best. I hope you.
I will. I'll tell her right now.
I hope I treated you with respect. I hope she's not disappointed.
Oh, you were great. You were great. Thank you.
Take care, brother. I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.